Hi, friend. Welcome back to the Invisible to Invincible podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Losi, and today we're talking personal branding, we're talking LinkedIn, and to help out with that is expert Jaime Chambron, and she is a personal branding and career advancement expert who helps professionals make the intangible tangible. If you have ever wondered how you should be using LinkedIn, how you could be using LinkedIn, how to enjoy using LinkedIn more, and what exactly it can help you do, you're in the right place. Because from personal branding tips to LinkedIn expertise, Jaime shares her journey to entrepreneurship, the power of networking, and how to use LinkedIn to help you pivot your career, to help you showcase your personal brand, to help you build your personal brand and everything else that you can do with it. So stick around, grab your favorite beverage, and let's do this. I keep doing that thing with my hand. I don't know why. Welcome to the Invisible to Invincible podcast. I am your host, Kendra Losi. If you have ever wondered how to best use LinkedIn and how LinkedIn and having a personal brand can help you advance your career, pivot your career, or really grow as a professional and growing your network, you are in the right place. Today's guest, Jaime Chambron, is here, and she is a personal branding and career advancement expert who helps professionals make the intangible tangible. We had a great conversation and talked all things LinkedIn about how to make LinkedIn more fun or enjoyable and how you can link and really use LinkedIn to help you achieve your goals. So grab your favorite beverage and get ready for some tips on the power of networking, power of branding, and how to use LinkedIn to showcase your unique value. Thank you for being here, Jaime. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me.
Of course. I know that we have a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited about it. I would love it if you could tell everyone who you are and what you do today.
Yes, Jamie Chambron. I actually spent over 20 years in the tech industry. And about a little over 6 years ago, I started thinking about what I wanted to do after my tech career and started on the side doing career coaching. That led into a lot of resume writing because I did a lot of work in packaging services. And I took that expertise in really helping package people. I hone in and help people with their careers. I do a lot of personal branding work. I help people make pivots in their careers, and I help entrepreneurs get up and running in expanding and amplifying their brand.
I love it because there's overlap in what we do, but we approach it from such a different way.
Mhm.
I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm like, ooh, packaging people. I love that idea. As someone who's been the unofficial resume writer for my friends and family for my entire life,
Mhm.
let's look at it this way. How long ago did you start your own business?
I started it around 6.5, 7 years ago as a side business. So I was doing it while I was still in my tech career, just as I went along and had bandwidth to work with people.
Nice. And then what made you decide to go all in?
I think I hit my corporate wall slash ceiling and went, what am I waiting for? Because I was thinking I was going to quote unquote hit a magical age and retire from tech and then jump into this. And I went, I don't need a magical age to do this full time. And I looked at the bank account where I was going with the business and went, I'm going to go all in. December 31st, 2021 was my last time working for a tech organization.
Congratulations. That's so
Thanks.
exciting.
Thank you.
And what has it been? Everything that you thought it would be?
It's been everything and more between building, scaling, client acquisition, client management. I mean, there's a lot to running your own business and working with clients. It's been fun, and I've been learning a lot as I go.
I think that's the case with everybody. I always feel for the people who are so good at what they do when it's not necessarily related to business. So, like the healthcare workers or people who weren't in a business sense before, but they started a business because they're passionate. And then they're like, what do I do? Now I have to sell, I have to market, I have to finance. It's like a crash course. in business and learning. So, can you talk a little bit about how you package people and help them with their careers and pivots?
Yeah. What I like to say, I have two sayings. One is I make the intangible tangible. I look at the intangible qualities of what someone does, the value they've delivered, where they're going, the skills they have, and figure out how to tell their story in a way that it's clear on your resume, it's clear online, LinkedIn profile, and it's clear when they have a conversation, like how they're going to introduce themselves when they're networking. My perspective, and back to packaging people, is I am not just packaging intangibles, I'm packaging services. I see people as services. You do a
Mhm.
service to a client, you're servicing a company, you're servicing your boss. That's why I take the perspective of you're also a service. I'm trying to figure out what's your value add, what's your differentiator at the end of the day. What is it that someone's going to go, I want to go talk to you and have an interview, or I want to potentially explore doing business with you? That's what I look at. How are you a service to someone else or an organization?
I think that's really important. 95% of my career has been services marketing. How do you make the intangible tangible? How do you demonstrate that you can solve a problem? And
Mhm.
I think the two of us are a very good example of this, right? We do something very similar in some ways, but what you bring is going to be different than what I bring. A person who might be right for me might not be right for you, and the other way
Correct.
around. I'm not for everybody,
Yeah.
period. But knowing that there's options in people who do similar things in different ways,
Mhm.
thank God, right? Because no one wants to do it the same way.
It's like the end goal, and there's multiple paths to that end goal, and just understanding what's the right path for you.
Absolutely. I know based on everything you've done that you do a lot with LinkedIn,
Yes.
and I want to talk about LinkedIn
Okay. Sounds good.
from multiple standpoints. One, from personal branding, two, the bigger level of LinkedIn's been around longer than most other social media platforms. It's owned by Microsoft. It has this very corporate, I'm only on there when I'm looking for a job kind of feel to it traditionally. Do you find that still to be true? And if not, how is that changing?
So I think the majority of users still use it as I'm only going to be on here when I am actively looking for a job. I think that's the majority.
Mhm.
But today, and I don't know if it's from COVID or more recently, you're starting to see more personal stories pop up that impact their career decisions or thoughts on an industry. Some people are on the platform all the time because they're in sales. You're getting sold to all the time. Some people don't want to use the platform, but then there's a lot of other benefits people are seeing in terms of finding new people they never thought could be a business partner, or thought partnership, or bringing in new leads authentically. There's a lot more if people understand how to use the platform. Maybe you're just going to engage in comments and start producing content and connect with people. Do you use it as a way to meet new people in your industry? It's just a launch pad for you to then have a conversation. People are realizing it's not just about applying to a job online and having your resume as your profile, building more authentic relationships and having more authentic conversations, be it on the platform or finding the connection and having that conversation offline.
I have noticed similar. One of my clients just posted him and some of his business buddies out on a motorcycle ride. And his post immediately got more traction than most posts I've seen about the well thought up article. And it's just so interesting because I think people crave that insight into people because none of us are just one sided. I think that's
Right.
part of what goes into personal branding as well. A lot of times people think that it's an old style, right? Like you have to be professional. Personal doesn't matter and it's out of order to share other stuff. That's not what this is meant for. Ever since COVID, people have been realizing that there's more to us than just one side. Dan itself as a platform has wanted to keep people on it more and get people using it more. I
They just
saw
launched
that.
that over the last few months. They are trying to have you engage more beyond just the business conversation.
as someone who's trying to build a personal brand, looking at yourself as a more rounded is really important, and it makes LinkedIn more enjoyable. What advice do you give to people who are trying to decide whether or not they should be using LinkedIn more or how to use LinkedIn more even?
Yeah, the first thing, because a lot of people have a pretty sparse profile, is let's just get your
That's true.
profile updated, right? Get
Very
a
true.
good headline. I am a manager. And there's a lot of space on that platform to really color what you do. Your headline should be your title so people know the functional area. It's your personal brand promise, what you do for who and the value you provide. Maybe add some color of where you ex-military or a volunteer of the year, depending on the space. You can add in a little bit more because your headline's your hook. Your
Mhm.
headline's the I want to get to know you more. Your banner, a lot of people have either the generic banner or the blank banner. The banner could be fun. Go into Canva and spice that up. Another way to show your personality is in certain elements of your profile. Headline about you. You can share more color on the things you're interested in outside of work. To me, work and personal almost blend. And I think for someone to be successful in a career, you need to have fun with it. You need to bring your personality, not be someone else. When I talk to someone about making a pivot and looking at company cultures, they're asking about how they should present themselves. Do I use emojis on my profile? If that's your personality and how you're going to be fun, that's what you should be looking for in a culture and in a fit. Don't hide who you are because you're not going to be happy trying to conform to someone else's norm.
So, Jamie, how do you work with your clients when it comes to personal brand? Because I think there's so many different things that can go into personal brand. I don't know if everyone understands just how important a good solid personal brand can be and what it
Yeah.
can do for you.
Yeah. A lot of people have a hard time because they don't know where to start. Over the years, I've curated a set of questions and recommended assessments to help my clients and me hone in on strengths. A lot of people need to take a strength finders assessment to either reinforce these are your top 5 or to go, oh, I didn't realize those are my top 5 strengths. Some people aren't in tune with what that is. I've got different questions. If you were to ask 3 colleagues, what makes you fabulous? Those would be things to kind of get some colorful insight of other people's perspective, not just your internal beliefs and perspectives. Oftentimes, I'll turn to their LinkedIn profile and see what recommendations they currently have. That's going to be really insightful. I did that on my own profile recently, just looking at why people work with me. One of the threads was I'm insightful. That was a common thread when I was in corporate and now in my own business. What are those patterns that show up over and over again? That's what you do. And it's a natural thing now. You have lots of examples of successes and stories you can bring to the table. For some people, maybe earlier in their careers, it might be more of an aspirational brand or someone making a pivot. Some of your background may be relevant, but we need to work through, okay, but where are you leaning into and have more of an aspirational brand to show like, wow, I'm bringing all these great things I've done in service delivery and service packaging. I'm now going to be a personal consultant.
I think that's such a good way to look at it. My least favorite question is when people ask, what is your superhero strength? Like today, yesterday, always, what do you want? I
Yeah.
will make one up for you. But to be able to gather that from almost a 360-degree view is really a smart way to go, and I'm sure people find that really insightful because the stories we tell ourselves aren't the same as what other people see.
Right.
What advice do you give to help them stay true to themselves, but also not let that hold them back?
Number one, especially if you're just starting to get your profile out there, starting to engage in the platform, do what you feel comfortable with. If you do things you're not comfortable with, you're going to be unauthentic and people are going to turn you off. So the best thing is to start with a crawl, walk, run approach to using LinkedIn. Let's get that profile optimized. Let's make sure people really know what you do, what you deliver, what problems you're solving. Start with your profile. From there, it's okay, let me build my network of peers, thought leaders, look at what my network is currently talking about, and maybe add a comment to a conversation, add your perspective, reshare someone else's posting or article and put your thoughts on it. Don't feel like you need to start creating content all day long, but getting out there once or twice a week just to see what's going on in your industry and the conversations going on. Find a new group to engage with that's in your industry, see what they're talking about, maybe build some new connections. Maybe part of your to do on the platform is to grow your network, finding ways via groups or via introductions through others who you're directly connected to, or search for second degree connections, people you really want to meet, not just to add to your network.
That's really good advice. When I was teaching social media, I had people practice live streaming, and the class was like bonus after the final kind of thing. And there were so many who were afraid to do it. I finally was like, let's look at your LinkedIn. It's brand new. You've got 10 followers. How many people seeing you
Mhm.
practicing live video are you going to be embarrassed about because there's only 10 people? People have this perception that once they start, everyone's going to be watching. I
Well,
think that fear often holds people back as well. Yes, people will see it, but the first time, people aren't looking for you right away.
and there's a button called edit if you don't like what you posted, or if you don't like it at all, you can just delete it, right? And this is part of the crawl, walk, run approaches. It's just building the habits of starting to get comfortable on the platform before you start to do, okay, I'm going to create my own long form post and see how
Right.
people react, because then you're also going to get a gauge of value. What are people seeing that you're posting that people are engaging with you on?
Absolutely true. Now, the flip side of that is what's the thing that people do on LinkedIn that drives you the craziest?
There are definitely, well, a few things. Okay, so there's definitely the people out there that just like my stuff to think that's helping them in the algorithm. Like I see them like my stuff all day long, but don't engage, they don't comment. I don't know them. Say something so I can get to know, like, why are you liking my stuff? Definitely the whole spammy connects and in mails. I know when someone's used an automation because of the way I set up my name. If
Mhm.
you really wrote me, you know you're not going to copy my name, because my name is stuffed with my certification and all kinds of other things. So I know when you've used an automation. And when I see that, I don't even bother reading the node or connecting with you. So those are a few things. And then trying to send me an in mail or a connect to sell me something right away. That's not how you sell on LinkedIn at all.
I like it when they clearly haven't. Like, I got 4 different things recently, all within the same 2 days that was like, "Hey, I'm located in Texas, and I noticed that you're here," or, pick a state, pick a location. "Where are you located?" It's the second line of my profile. Like, I also really enjoy the dear sirs.
Yes. Yes. They really went above and beyond in that automation.
Yes, yes. The automation just leaned right into, "You're a business owner." And I think those things are really important to pay attention to because basically what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong or please add to this actually,
Mhm.
is take time to do your research, take time to get to make sure you're reaching out to the right people. LinkedIn is about connections and people want to connect with
Yeah.
other people.
For a lot of my clients trying to make a career move, I encourage them to find alumni, people and companies they're interested in. And again, back to that, sending an authentic, hey, I saw you're at this organization. You're doing what I would like to do next. I'd love to just have like a 15-minute Zoom to learn more about you and the organization, which could eventually be someone who's going to refer you into that organization. That's how I look at it. If you've got no one to refer you personally for an opportunity, you've got to start building traction and headway. LinkedIn's one way to help see where the connections are.
LinkedIn fascinates me. My algorithm from so many years in marketing is very marketer heavy. Sometimes I open it up and I'm like, why is everyone just trying to be the smartest person in the room? No one's asking questions, no one's listening, no one's sharing anything but their thoughts on the latest book they read and why they're right. But there's definitely a difference in terms of I'm sharing this because I found it helpful and I think you would too. And I'm sharing this because I want you to know how smart I am and that I can read. What tips do you have for people who might be hesitating to create content because they're not sure how to even start?
Someone on the platform, no matter how far along they're in their career, they have some value. why they're at the job they're at today. Maybe they're really great at graphic design, storytelling. What's something you can share that you've learned along the way or recently? If you face this problem, here's what I did to solve that problem. So maybe like problem solving tidbits. It could be sharing interesting articles you're finding in, credible Forbes, Business Week, whatever you follow, to go, hey, I found this article fascinating. These 3 things were my takeaways that I'm going to apply over the next month in my business. What does anyone, ending with the call to action of who else has this problem or thinking about solving this? Is there any other tips you have in bringing this to a different level? It's taking maybe other people's content, taking something you recently learned and sharing it, but sharing it without the what's in it for me at the end. I'm going to share it to help other people be successful.
Adding that curiosity is
Mhm.
really important. While you were talking, I was started to think about how people reshare versus adding their own perspective to build on the conversation, and how much more powerful taking the 2 minutes to write a line can be, and the difference it can make to the people receiving it.
Yeah. It's going to build more credibility with the original person who posted it, to know you're going to put some thought in, amplifying what their message is or what their ask is. Because a lot of times I reshare people posting job opportunities, because that's what I'm doing. I'm helping people find their next career. And I know people who are looking for professionals. I always add a little bit, especially if I know the person, on how great they are, what a great leader they are, what kind of opportunity this could be. It is important to go that extra step and let your audience know why you shared this.
I find that a lot of business owners feel like they need to be on Instagram because they enjoy being on Instagram. With all the algorithm changes and things, it's a lot harder. Instagram takes a lot of time, and it's a lot harder to get through unless you're doing it well and consistently and right for the algorithm and for your audience. How do you help set up expectations in terms of the time it takes on LinkedIn and the potential outcome that they can get versus other platforms?
Yeah, and again, it's that crawl, walk, run. I don't ever spend, I did back in the day, spend money on advertising. It's just more of an energy and effort.
Mhm.
Ideally, you're creating, so if you're at the point where you're walking and running and you're creating thought leadership or content that you're going to put on your blog, put in
Mhm.
your company website, publish in a white paper, you need to figure out, how do you repurpose that content? How do you chunk it into different parts and pieces? Take webinars you're doing, how do you chunk that into a post? I took a presentation I did live in person and took a few of the slides and created a carousel so that others could see what I shared recently on best practices and tips. So don't always feel like you have to reinvent and create something all the time. Look in your archives of content and polish some things, repurpose it. But at the end of the day, if you're wanting to start to be more present, it's like finding maybe 30 minutes once a week to engage, build your network, put some content out there. At some point, you're probably going more into 2 to 3 days a week in terms of engagement and activity. And then do you do more? Do you start to have people help you keep your profile updated? It's just like how busy you are and what kind of presence do you, again, back to authentically being on there. I still think you need to be on there to some extent because it's you and your brand and you're connecting versus, having someone else do that for you.
I absolutely agree. I think that's the interesting thing, right? Is like you said, 30 minutes once a week to start building your presence. And obviously, you can ramp that up from there. But that is nothing compared
No.
to the work of the other platforms. Speaking from my own experience, I can see that more people engaged, responded, interacted, viewed, which led to more people searching for me. I can get those stats right away from LinkedIn, and they're significantly higher than the other platforms,
Yeah.
even though I might spend less time there.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think always surprises people because they're always like, "Oh, LinkedIn, I do it because I have to." Make it fun. How do you help your audience make
The
fun?
other thing too, your LinkedIn profile and things you're posting ends up getting into a Google search. So that's a lot of ways you're found too. Activity on LinkedIn is feeding how you're going to be found on Google.
How can we make that fun? if that's aligned with your personal brand?
I think it's just finding what are the things you think are fun, like the business guys on motorcycles, especially if you're a leader of people. What fun things are you doing in the office? What fun things are you doing with your teams out of the office? What fun things that is somewhat tangential to your career do you want to share? Do you like to take photos? Maybe that's part of what you do, post events, sharing the great things, sharing the camaraderie, sharing the fun things. Maybe you're more of a speaker and you're going to share your takeaways from something you recently presented. I think finding the platform is about that stage engagement and content creation. So what are you enjoy more? Is it finding more people to connect with? Maybe it's one-on-one things that you're trying to find people to set up a Zoom, set up a lunch meeting versus, I just want to, get my thoughts out there and see some engagement and have a public dialogue.
Jaime, are you saying it goes back to your goals?
What? Yeah, if your goal is to really have more relationships, deep relationships versus getting out to the masses and having your message heard, it definitely is related to what are you seeking that the platform can help you with.
Fantastic. Such good advice, too. My dog was agreeing with you. Yeah. Speaking of, anytime I post a picture that might include my dog, of course, there's more views. My little furry sidekick, my coworker, gets more views no matter how hard I work, what posts I put up, what deep thoughts I have. I want to make sure links to find Jaime will be in the show notes. Jaime, just in case, can you tell people where they can find you as well?
Yes, obviously on LinkedIn, you just look up my last name, Chambron, Chambron. But otherwise, my website, careeragilitysystem.com.
She has a ton of resources and information available. I believe so strongly in building a personal brand. If you're doing a career pivot, looking to start your own business, or any of those changes in your career, there's a ton of resources available. Thank you for offering all those resources and making them available on your website and LinkedIn. I really appreciate you being here because whenever I talk about LinkedIn and what you can do with it, everyone's resistant because it's not fun or they think they have to show up a certain way. Thank you for being here to share that. Before we go, do you have any last words of advice or tips?
Yeah, my biggest thing is you've got to get out there. You've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable with some of these platforms. I think LinkedIn is here to stay. It's going to be really hard for anyone else to replicate the breadth and depth of what that network provides. Once you start to get used to the platform and tapping into it, figuring out what your network wants to hear from. Maybe it will be more pictures with your dog or your team and fun things before they want to hear more serious stuff.
Or a mixture. You'll find out based on your audience and what your goals are. I was laughing because I think that when I was teaching the history of social media, as like one slide of like how long it's been around. Didn't LinkedIn start in like 2004? Like when you say it's been around since 2004, guys. Don't miss the boat any longer. If you're not using it, there's so many things that you can be using it for. Jaime, thank you so much. I really appreciate your insights and your patience with some of the tech difficulties that have been here. I won't lie. Lastly, thank you for tuning in and spending time with us here today at the Invisible to Invincible podcast. Host Kendra Losi, and don't forget that we are here to help you take control of your business and your career. It's never too late. Be sure to leave a comment and let us know insights you found most useful and how you're approaching LinkedIn in the future. Thank you. Next time.